here with the Health and Happiness Hacks Wellness Show. I am here with Arezou, who actually works here at Chateau. You've probably seen her smiley face at the front desk of either location. So I'm so excited to bring, this is actually the first team member I've brought on. She has amazing knowledge, and she's actually a doctor. So we're going to talk about that. I was telling a friend today that I was interviewing you for the show and explaining how excited I was. Somebody that studies psychology, but also can merge it with wellness in just a more natural way. And her blog, which will also definitely get you guys to go look at her blog online. It's like we could have done a show on every blog post she's ever done. I was like, how are we going to pick a topic for you? So we'll go with the most recent post that she has, and we'll elaborate on that blog that she did recently. So yeah, let's go ahead, and if you don't mind explaining to all the viewers and listeners more about yourself.
Absolutely. So hi, my name is Dr. Arezou Ghane. I am a doctor of health psychology. I'm a yoga instructor, and I'm also the founder of Auteur Health and Wellness, and this is my website and my blog. Basically, my perspective is to bring the science of well-being and wellness to people who could benefit from it. So I think a lot of people, when they tend to think about their health, they tend to focus only on their diet and their exercise habits. And what I want to do is really introduce more of a perspective on the psychological and social variables of health. So, a lot of times we don't realize the extent to which these variables are influencing our success in reaching our health goals, and this is something that I talked about in my most recent blog post around this topic of resolutions. A lot of us get really, really hyped on New Year's resolutions. We have a lot of steam going forward, and then we find that right around this time, a couple months into the new year, we kind of lose that steam. And so just some kind of hacks and tips in terms of how to implement the science is first to think about our whys, what is the purpose that is motivating our health behaviors. This helps us to stay on track when maybe things don't go exactly according to plan, the details fall apart. Planning for and realizing some of the triggers that may be making us more susceptible to failing or compromising our health goals in some way. So really learning, for example, like maybe, I have a hard time waking up early in the morning, so that's a bad time to plan to do my exercise routine. So really just knowing ourselves a little better. And then also using our psychology and our unconscious habits to our benefit. So being able to put out these subtle unconscious cues for ourselves, like maybe putting out our yoga mat first thing in the morning in our living room. So that's
a good one.
The first thing that we see. So it's really kind of learning to use our psychology and also our relationships and our social environments to our benefit to help us reach our health goals.
Yeah. No, and you know what's scary, and I feel bad because now I forget the exact date, but it's the third week in January. It's the highest rate of suicide. I think it's the 18th or the 21st. I'd have to look statistically, but it's because it's like you're 3 weeks in, and again, you're just all jazzed, and everybody, on Facebook, it was like so many posts on like everybody's resolutions and what they were committing to, which I think was a great idea because you're outwardly saying, okay, here's what I'm committing to, hold me accountable. But then I think that excitement wears off so fast. And I think, by week 3, you're like, okay, this is no good. I just think there's so much pressure on New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
So it just stresses people out and just coming off of that high.
And I think, too, kind of my vision that I see is really bringing more information and evidence-based information, focusing on the science of wellness, because we have a lot of information out there right now around health, wellness, fitness, these goals and ideals that may or may not be practical for you as an individual. And so learning how to parse that away and say, okay, this is what is manageable for me, this is what is realistic given the lifestyle that I lead, and not to fixate so much on those just how we look and appearances and how many calories we're burning or eating. So kind of more of a holistic view of health.
No, and I love that, the holistic and the science and the factual, like that, how you can merge those two. And not, because again, living in San Diego, I think we have a lot of yogis here, and we have a lot, people in health and wellness, and it's like, this feels good, it feels right, but there's no factual data behind it. So it's just, that's your specialty, is merging those two and saying, okay, this is why you want to do it, and this is the science behind it. So that's just such a huge, and do you feel like that might become more, and I'm hoping so, common in the years to come? It might take a little bit of time, but.
I really hope so. I think that one of the greatest things and what I would like to do is help equip people to be a little bit more critical and mindful of the data that they consume and the information and how they're using it to implement their own changes in their lives. So we hear a lot of people speak with authority and maybe even write lots of books on the subject or blogs or videos, but it's really like learning to pick out where this information is coming from, what is the basis, even of research, of scientific research. Sometimes it may or may not be useful to us or meaningful in terms of a take-home message. And so I'd love to kind of educate people on that a little bit more.
Good. No, I love that. And then what got you into, so tell us how you got into all of this to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, I was just your kind of standard academic. I completed my my doctorate degree, and I went on to teach college, and somewhere along the line I realized that the things that I was teaching in the classroom and the things that I was reading about and conducting research on, that everyday people could use them. And so that's really the focus and the vision of Auteur. The name Auteur itself is a French word. It describes a person, most commonly a storyteller, sometimes a director, that has a very unique way of telling the story and a special kind of influence and artistic signature. And so really, this is what I would like to do, is equip people with the tools they need to rewrite their life story. So, we've all had events, whether it's genetics or life circumstances that have made an impact on our health. And it's really learning to take whatever we have, harness our power to then redirect this story and retell this story in our own way.
That's awesome. And then what do you do for self-care for yourself?
I do a lot. So I think I value self-care tremendously. And I think the first step is knowing yourself and what you need. And so for me, I'm a very physically and psychologically active person. So I try to meet my physical needs by staying active, doing a lot of yoga, dance, I rock climb, I like to be out in nature and hike and whatnot. And then psychologically, sometimes I can get a little overactive, so I try to practice meditation every day. And that helps me get grounded a little bit more. And then I also really get revitalized by being around inspiring people and supportive community members. So just surrounding myself with people who have shared goals and help kind of lift me up to their level as well.
That's awesome. And the meditation, we need like a little bell every time now. On a show I had years ago, we had, and I have the same producer on this show, and I think we added like a little ding or bell when something was mentioned, like every single show, which is meditation. So that's awesome.
It's a major tool, and a lot of people have it in common in terms of like successful people or happier people. It's not a coincidence that we all talk about meditation because it's such an important tool.
How often do you do it per day, and for how long?
So that's a good question. So for me, I started with a more manageable chunk of 10 minutes a day, and it's typically in the morning, although sometimes I feel like at night when I come home, I'm a little bit scattered, and so it helps to get grounded again. But I now have just recently upped the ante to 20 minutes a day, and I use an app called Insight Timer. And all it is actually a bell sound. And so it kind of helps me get in the mood, hear that sound, and kind of, again, use that unconscious trigger of like, we're going into that space. And also a really cool thing about it is that they do have guided meditations, but they also have a little indication. You can see a map of the world and see everyone who is simultaneously meditating with you.
Whoa, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty inspiring.
I haven't heard of that app.
Yeah. Oh. There's a lot of great apps out there, but that's my favorite. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, cool. And then what about books? What's one of your all-time favorite books?
So currently right now, I really love the work of Brené Brown. She just wrote a book called Rising Strong, and I just love her. She's also a researcher, psychologist, And I think she has a very authentic and real and relatable voice. She's had a lot of TED Talks.
Yes, her TED Talks. You guys, you have to Google her for the TED Talks alone.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
A great speaker and very animated. And I love her message about vulnerability. I think it's really powerful, especially in this day of, social media and perfectly crafted, impressions that we make on each other. Just the value of being real and being vulnerable and, talking about our shared struggles is really important.
No, and that worries me too, because you're getting like the highlight reel usually of everybody's life on Instagram, on Facebook, and I'm just wondering what that's instilling in other people, because they're only seeing the highlights.
Absolutely.
They're not seeing the bad parts, and it's just like, then they look inward like, well, where am I going wrong? Where am I messing up?
Yes.
Why isn't my life like that?
Yeah.
Photoshopped and all that.
And there's currently research being done on those very questions. Like, we're gathering so much data in the field. But we do know absolutely those are not realistic images, but we can't help but, compare ourselves to those.
And then with the research, what are they teaching as far as, or what is it showing?
Well, it is showing that in terms of loneliness and depression, we do find some correlation with how much time you're spending on social media. And that's not causal, so we don't know for sure that spending time on social media makes you more depressed. It could be that you're more depressed and therefore you're spending more time alone at home, staring at the computer or your phone. But we definitely know that they're interconnected in that way. So it doesn't help promote, happiness and joy and life satisfaction by spending too much time on social media.
But at the same time, I see like Mind Body Green, like I follow that blog
Yes.
online. I love their articles and their blog, and their posts are like inspiring, and then then it gets me thinking about different stuff.
Yes.
So there's definitely, good that can come out of.
Yeah. Again, it's just being mindful of the media that we consume and how we approach it. If we have that intention of learning more and inspiring ourselves, of course, it can be a tool, but it can also be kind of a source of destruction if we use it in the wrong way. Just knowing what we want to get out of it, I think, is really important. And then keeping in mind that we are just looking at highlight reels, and that, sometimes maybe one person's routine on Mind Body Green doesn't necessarily fit our lives, so
That's
we have
true
to
too.
be careful, like, is this true for me as well and my goals?
And a little hack that I have is that on Facebook, you can hide. You can still be friends with the person, but you can hide their feed. And obviously during the crazy political, oh my gosh, I was like, there needs to just be one button I can hit now to like bring those people back into the feed.
Yes, yeah.
But regardless whether it was the political stuff or not, which I did like hide so many, I have like barely anybody left in my feed.
Opt out.
I know, right? So my hack is just, if it's somebody that's constantly complaining or has a victim mentality, it's just like negative Nelly, then there's no reason for me to have that come up in my feed.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, hide.
Yeah.
So that's my little hack. But at least we're still friends, so
Yes.
they don't know that you hid their thing.
Well, yeah, and behaviors are contagious,
For sure.
and so is our mentality. And so it's really hard not to be affected by someone if you don't have that boundary of like, I can't engage in that conversation with you right now. It's not healthy for me, so totally, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. So there's nothing wrong. I know I kind of feel bad when I do that. I feel bad. I'm like, I'm not that they even know I'm doing it, but I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. I just want to try to control just the inputs.
Yeah.
And keep it more uplifting and positive and inspiring. Yeah. And obviously bad things happen. When people share those stories that are close to, when something traumatic does happen, and they do put it on there, like that's important too, because you can. But when it's all the time, is
Right.
when I'm like, okay, this isn't good.
Yeah.
Cool. So, what would be your number one hack for our audience? Like, I know you have a lot, but what would you narrow it down?
Basically, I would say that we have to think about our health in terms of the long run, the long haul, and so to invest in it every day, to think about it as a process. When there are setbacks, not to be detoured, but also to just know that you don't have to do it alone. We're social animals, so it absolutely helps to have a supportive environment, supportive friend group, a guide, a mentor, to kind of guide you along your wellness journey, and it can shape your success and your goals. So.
And then we're excited too because we're gonna it's next Sunday. So at our Sorrento Valley location here in San Diego, she is going to actually teach a yoga class. So we're gonna give it which a lot of our clients have asked, and I was like, oh, I don't know, the infrastructure, I don't know, do we have the room? Sorrento Valley obviously has the room, and I think it's just a really gonna be a fun way for people to connect more with you. And so maybe give like a little snippet of what they would expect if they came to one of your classes.
Absolutely. So for the class that we're doing here, it's all levels. My background is in Ashtanga yoga, but I'm a dancer, so I like to create these sequences that kind of flow together naturally. I'm really big on self-care, compassion, and self-love, and so I'm never going to put you in a situation where you feel, intimidated or inadequate. In my classes, I really just like to center everything on your own personal connection with yourself. So I try to kind of tailor the class individually to who's there, but meanwhile making it fun and challenging for all levels. So.
Oh, I love that. I'm so excited. So like I said, check that out. It will definitely, we're going to give it a shot and see how it goes and how often we're going to do them. And, we're closed there on Sundays. So we thought we might as well use the space for something and then we'll go from there. And how long have you been a yoga instructor?
I've been teaching for about 3 years. Yeah, so I've had a really long practice. I started when I was 18, which is awesome. And I'm now 33 as of today.
Yay, I know, I forgot to mention that. When she walked in the door, I was like, happy birthday. So, but I forgot to mention it here on the recording.
I've been practicing yoga for a long time, but then just in the past 3 years, I've really started to teach it more seriously, and I absolutely love it. Like all of the things that you were saying about, differences in political opinion or perspective, I just love having that space where people from all kinds of backgrounds, age, gender, race, all of the above, political views, we kind of just gather together and we connect on a much deeper level as a community. So I love offering that. And I think it's a really important part of our psychological and emotional health too, is that physical aspect. They're all interconnected. So learning how to balance all of them.
And so for those of us, I might be talking about myself, that did yoga once or twice and I'm like, oh my God, this is not for me.
Yeah.
What would you say to that person?
Okay, my favorite thing is working with those people.
Okay.
Because I love the yoga is not for me because I promise I'll make it for you. It really is so dependent on the teacher and how you connect. And so even if it's not with me, just trying again with other teachers and other styles. There's so many styles of yoga. But I love those people because we have a lot of like stereotypes about what yoga is and what a yoga class looks like and feels like. And so I really encourage you to revisit that idea and try it again, maybe a different kind of class.
Different class, different type of yoga, different teacher. Yeah, I'm just giving tips. Well, I'm writing down tips for myself, but also I know, again, there's probably people that are like, no, yoga's not for me.
I know, we have a lot of misconceptions about what yoga is and isn't, and ultimately it's just learning how to breathe. A lot of it is actually really similar to biofeedback, like learning how to listen to your heartbeat, learning how to listen to your breath, learning how to hold yourself in a mindful way, like your physical presence in the world, and then just becoming stronger, more flexible, and more patient with ourselves is a huge one. That's like the biggest challenge in yoga class is just learning how to like make that chatter, that judgment of yourself kind of silence a little bit, and so you can actually give yourself a little bit of space to grow.
No, that's nice. No, and I know so many people, and there's guys that are getting into it, guys that I would never think would be into yoga, and it really was a game changer for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, owning a wellness spa, that's always the thing. People automatically assume, oh, you must be so into yoga. I'm like, no, I'm not. Am I supposed to be? Yeah. See, now I'm going to go to this class. And so Arezou's going to change the game for me, hopefully. Because I always say, my joke, I'll do yoga poses on my motorcycle. Like racing my motorcycle is meditative to me and calming, and it resets me. Yeah. And that's why I love doing that once a week. But it's like a joke because it's not yoga. It's the opposite of yoga. You're like flying. And so I'm just like such an adrenaline junkie. But that's what works for me personally. It just reset. And I'm you have to be very present and mindful, when you're doing that. Yes. So. But let's do regular yoga. Let's give it a shot again.
We'll bring that adrenaline to you a little bit.
Oh,
okay.
Get
your heart going.
Oh, I'm excited. Especially if it's a dance. I love that the flow,
it's really rhythmic.
That you incorporate that too.
It's great training for every athlete, I feel. Any kind of yoga, whether you're like a rock climber or a more high endurance runner or something like that, yoga is great training for all of us.
Cool. And then since this was our first time having one of the Eco Chateau team members on, I know there's a few other ones that are going to come on, so I'm excited about that, but you are our very first. So I definitely wanted to ask, and kind of put you on the spot because I didn't even know about this question, I just thought of it, is what do you like best about working here, being part of the team and the community?
Yeah. Well, I am so grateful to have just walked into like a wonderful family. I really do feel like it is a family in terms of everyone who works here and everyone who comes, all of our guests and members. I see a lot of people come in different parts of their health journey, and they're just starting to ask these really important questions about themselves and what they want to create for themselves. And it's just so inspiring to see how we all carry each other and hold this really beautiful, precious space for each other, and make each other stronger. I see that all the time. People coming in and just like walking in and out as different people, literally just in like one day or one session. And that's what self-care does for us. It just transforms the rhythm of our lives. So I love being a part of that in any way, shape, or form, and just having like these conversations with people and learning about where everyone's coming from. Really cool.
I love hearing that. No, that's super. That's great. And for those, people are listening or watching that obviously don't live in San Diego, but find your local wellness spa, your local, yoga studio. Tap into that community.
Yeah.
I think that support, I think that's the biggest thing, is just giving support and feeling connected and getting I'm so excited. We started 4.5 years ago, the spa, and I think wellness wasn't as trendy as it's becoming now, or more, I don't want to use the word trendy, but more common. Just people are more accepting of it, essentially.
Yes.
They're finally realizing the value and working, 80 hours a week. It's not like you're going to pay for it later on, so why not take care of yourself
and
early.
It does make you more productive, makes you happier in all aspects of your life. I'm so glad to be a part of it in this way. San Diego's awesome too. We have such a beautiful community here.
Oh, for sure. When it comes to health and fitness and wellness, this is like the mecca. I love living here. Everybody's super healthy, and then it's not until you travel is when you're like, whoa, it's like
you take it for granted
that we're in this little health and fitness bubble, and then you go somewhere else and you're like, whoa, wait, what happened? Yeah, so I think that we're fortunate in that sense too, and that's essentially why I've started this weekly wellness show, is because I'm like, I need to get this knowledge out to everybody, because I'm so lucky to have these conversations. Somebody will pop in my office and we'll chat for 30 minutes to an hour about these things, and I'm like, we need to record this. This is such good stuff.
It's a good gift.
Yeah, it is. So thank you so much for being on this show, and so we'll put in the show notes how to go to her blog, check that out. It's incredible. She's a very good writer too. She didn't say that. She's being modest. And for you guys, definitely subscribe to either the iTunes podcast or the YouTube show, or both, whichever's easiest for you. And we